What if a battered dog showed up at a police station with a little girl tied to his back? And that was only the beginning. Watch till the end to uncover a story of loyalty, courage, and a truth buried deep. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. The morning sun broke over Oak Ridge with a golden calm, brushing the rooftops of quiet homes and misty fields. In the modest driveway of a white farmhouse on the edge of town, 8-year-old Amber Walker adjusted the strap of her pink backpack and smiled at her father. Her deep brown skin glowed in the morning light, her tight curls bouncing beneath her hoodie as she leaned over to hug the large German shepherd sitting in the back of the pickup. "Bye, Hunter," she whispered, kissing his scarred head. "Be good today." Hunter's tail thumped softly against the truck bed, amber eyes never leaving hers. James Walker, once a respected Marine and now a grieving single father, climbed into the driver's seat, masking his exhaustion with a strained smile. He reached across and ruffled his daughter's curls. "See you at 3, baby," he said. "Promise?" "Always." They didn't know it yet, but it would be the last time he'd see her carefree smile for days. Amber was the only child of James and Naomi Walker. Naomi had been an investigative journalist, brilliant, bold, and unrelenting, until one night 2 years ago when she was murdered in their home. No suspects, no answers, just the shattered remains of a family trying to pretend they were still whole. James hadn't been the same since. The Marine discipline faded, replaced with silence, guilt, and too many late nights with whiskey and a locked door. But Amber held on. And Hunter, the dog Naomi had rescued from a shelter before her death, had become Amber's protector, her guardian, her best friend. Hunter had scars. His ear had a notch, his flank was streaked with healed wounds. No one knew what he'd survived before coming to them, but Amber had picked him the moment she saw him, walked right past every fluffy puppy and said, "This one. He's sad like me." That was 3 years ago. Since then, they'd been inseparable. At 3 p.m., James parked his truck outside the school, just like every other Tuesday. But there was no Amber. The playground was emptying, kids spilling out in pairs and groups, laughter bouncing off pavement. James waited a minute. 2. Then he went inside. "She was picked up earlier," the front office secretary said. "Around 1:45. Someone signed her out, said it was a family emergency." James blinked. "I didn't sign her out." The room chilled. "She wasn't supposed to go with anyone else." Panic detonated in his chest. Within an hour, the Oak Ridge Sheriff's Department had launched a full-scale search. Helicopters were requested, alerts were issued. Sheriff Mason Cooper personally assigned search teams to the woods near the school. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the trees as volunteers combed the area. But James already felt the darkness creeping in. Back at the farmhouse, Hunter was a mess. Pacing, barking, scratching at the back door like something was pulling him from inside. James grabbed his leash, trying to calm him. "Easy, boy. I know you miss her. We all do." But Hunter wasn't acting like a dog who missed his person. He was acting like a dog who knew where she was. James clipped the leash and tried walking him, but Hunter yanked toward the woods behind the property, the same direction Amber's school backed up against. When James pulled back, Hunter whined, snarled, tried to drag him. "You think this is helping?" James snapped, jerking him back. "Get it together." The dog growled low in his chest, not at James, but toward the tree line. Agent Cassidy Reynolds from the FBI arrived around 8 p.m. She was sharp-eyed, calm-voiced, and moved like someone who didn't waste time. Has the dog picked up anything?" James folded his arms. "He's been acting like he wants to tear through the trees, but no one's letting him." Reynolds tilted her head. "He's bonded to her? She's his whole world. Let him track." Sheriff Cooper cut in. "We've got trained K9S on this. That dog's not part of the unit. He's old, probably traumatized." "He's hers," Reynolds said. "That's enough for me." But Cooper dismissed it. "Put the dog in the house, James. He's in the way." So James did what he was told. He locked Hunter in the laundry room. That night, Hunter howled. Not like a dog upset to be left alone, like a soldier denied the mission he was born for. James returned home after midnight, soaked, exhausted, empty-handed. No Amber, no new leads, just a gnawing silence and the sound of the storm outside. He opened the laundry room door. Hunter didn't bolt, didn't bark. He walked past James, slow and deliberate, down the hallway and sat in front of Naomi's study a room no one had entered since her death. His eyes fixed on the closed door. He whimpered. "What are you doing?" James muttered. "There's nothing in there." Hunter pawed at the base of the door. James snapped. "What the hell is wrong with you?" He shoved the dog back, knocking over a bottle of whiskey in the process. The smell filled the hallway. Hunter backed up, but kept his gaze steady. Not scared, not angry, just disappointed. James stared at him. Something in that look undid him. It reminded him of Naomi, of Amber, of everything he was losing. Then his phone rang. "Mr. Walker," Agent Reynolds said, "we found her backpack near Miller's Creek. There are signs of a struggle." When James looked back, the front door was wide open. Hunter was gone. By dawn, Hunter had covered over 15 miles. Torn paws, broken skin, bleeding through his fur. But he didn't stop. He crossed rivers, climbed muddy hills, followed every dead-end trail until instinct, and something deeper, led him to a forgotten place in the woods. Locals called it Devil's Backbone. Old caves, mining tunnels, ghost stories. And in the middle of it all, hidden beneath rotting branches and rusted sheet metal, Hunter found a bunker. Inside, Amber lay curled on a cot, dirty, bruised, alive, too weak to move, but not too weak to whisper. "Hunter," she said, "I knew you'd find me." And Hunter, despite everything, didn't whine, didn't bark. He turned and disappeared back into the dark, toward the voices coming from down the hall, toward danger, because Amber wasn't safe yet, and his job wasn't done. Amber pressed her cheek against the cold metal floor, whispering through the narrow gap beneath the door. Her voice was weak, trembling but determined. "They said they're moving me tonight," she murmured. "One of them. He smells like the man who hurt my mom." On the other side, Hunter stayed perfectly still, his nose pressed against the same gap. His ears twitched, his chest heaved with each ragged breath. But he didn't leave her. Even now, even after crossing forests and bleeding through his bandages, he stayed. The walls of the bunker were thick with mildew and rot. A single dim bulb flickered in the hallway. Somewhere nearby, two men talked in low voices. "Midnight. Blackwood wants it clean. No trail. She's just a kid. She's a witness." Hunter's head lifted slightly. His ears pivoted toward the voices. His body was still trembling, his limbs weak, but his eyes were focused. Clear. Down the hallway, a door creaked. Footsteps approached. Hunter retreated into the shadows. The guard, a wiry man with greasy hair and a sneer, stepped into Amber's room carrying a tray of food. "Dinner time, Princess." He didn't see the blur of motion until it was too late. Hunter launched from the darkness, teeth sinking into the man's forearm with a sickening crunch. The tray hit the ground, clattering. The man screamed, reaching for his weapon, but Hunter twisted, dragging him to the floor, jaws unrelenting. Amber screamed. The guard's gun fired, the bullet slamming into the concrete wall, but it didn't stop Hunter. In a second, it was over. The man was unconscious. Hunter let go. He turned to Amber. Her eyes widened. "The storage room. There's a window. I saw it. Come on." She ran barefoot across the hall, Hunter limping behind her, blood dripping from his side. Inside the storage room, stacked crates reached the ceiling. A small, barred window sat nearly 6 feet above the floor. Amber turned to Hunter. "You want me to climb on you?" The dog didn't move. He stood still, braced. She scrambled up his back, using his shoulders for support. She reached the window. Her small hands pushed the latch open with a creak. Cold night air rushed in. Amber pulled herself through, wriggling, panting, until she dropped into the wet grass outside. "Come on, Hunter," she whispered. But Hunter didn't follow. The window was too small for him. He barked once, soft, urgent. "They'll catch you," she sobbed. "Please, don't stay." Another bark. Then he turned back into the corridor, toward the rising shouts. Amber ran. She didn't look back. At the edge of the forest, headlights cut through the trees. Voices shouted. FBI agents emerged, guns raised. "Emma!" She froze. "Daddy?" James crashed through the trees, soaked in rain and mud, arms outstretched. Agent Reynolds was right behind him, sidearm drawn. Amber stumbled into his arms, sobbing. "Hunter found me," she cried. "He's still inside." Reynolds didn't wait. She gave sharp orders into her radio. Behind her, a figure stepped out of the trees. Dr. Sarah Andrews, still in her vet coat, her bag slung over one shoulder. She knelt in front of Amber. "Sweetheart, you're safe now." Amber blinked. "Wait." She sniffed the air. "That smell." "Cologne," she whispered. Dr. Andrews froze. Amber backed away. "You smell like them." It happened fast. Reynolds raised her weapon. "Hands where I can see them." But the vet was already reaching into her bag. She never got the chance. Hunter exploded from the trees, a missile of fur and muscle. He hit her like a freight train, sending the syringe flying. The woman hit the ground, gasping for air. Reynolds moved in, cuffed her. James dropped to his knees beside Hunter. His side was soaked in blood. He wasn't moving. "Hold on, buddy," James whispered. Back in town, the sheriff's department coordinated a full raid on the bunker. Dozens of agents swept the woods. What they found horrified even the most seasoned officers. Rooms, chains, medical supplies, laptops, blueprints. It was a trafficking ring. And Thomas Blackwood, beloved philanthropist, founder of youth centers, was behind it all. But he was gone. His inner circle vanished. Only low-level enforcers remained, confused, wounded, and soon to be charged. At Oak Ridge Memorial Hospital, Amber was treated for bruises and dehydration. She refused to leave Hunter's side. Nurses wrapped her in warm blankets and tucked her into a chair beside his stretcher. James sat nearby, silent, hands still stained with blood. Every few minutes, Amber would stir and ask the same question. "Is Hunter okay?" "He's fighting," James whispered, "just like he always does." In the vet wing, Dr. Patel worked tirelessly. Lung damage, blood loss, deep lacerations. "He shouldn't be alive," Patel murmured, "but he's not just surviving. He's choosing to." Amber held Hunter's paw during the night, whispering, "He knew who hurt Mama. He smelled it." James turned. "What do you mean?" "The man who took me. He wore the same cologne, same as Dr. Andrews, the same smell from the night Mama died." James froze. Blackwood. He'd been there. Hunter had known all along. Agent Reynolds returned the next morning with news. "There's something strange about his collar," she said. "It's thicker than before." They retrieved it from evidence. Forensics sliced it open carefully. Inside, hidden in the lining, was a waterproof micro SD card. Sarah had left behind more than memories. Reynolds held it like it was sacred. "Jackpot," she whispered. Later, Amber tugged at James's sleeve. "He's looking for something," she said, pointing to Hunter, now conscious, ears flicking as he lay bandaged beside her. "He's scanning." James stared. "Your mother used to say that to him. Find the treasure. She used to hide things and send him searching." Amber nodded. "Maybe she did again." James's heart pounded. "Did your mom ever hide anything in the pond behind our house?" "I don't know, but Hunter might." They drove there that afternoon. The pond was still, quiet. Hunter limped to the water's edge. "Okay, boy," James whispered. "Find it." Without hesitation, the dog stepped into the cold water. He paddled forward, then dove. 10 seconds passed, then 20. Then he surfaced, something in his mouth. A waterproof plastic box. James waded in and caught it. Opened it. Inside, photographs, voice recordings, bank documents, Naomi's handwriting. Then Hunter dove again. And again. He brought back 4 more boxes. By the end, he collapsed in the shallows, eyes fluttering. James dropped to his knees. "You did it," he whispered, cradling the dog's head. "You really did it." For the first time in weeks, the farmhouse felt still. Not haunted, not broken, just still. Hunter lay curled on a blanket in the living room, his bandages clean, his breathing steady but shallow. Amber slept nearby on the couch, her head resting on James's shoulder, one small hand gripping his flannel sleeve like she was afraid he might vanish in the night. James didn't sleep. He watched the darkened windows, listened to the silence that came after the storm, and thought about everything Agent Reynolds had told him. "We think someone tipped Blackwood off before the raid." She hadn't needed to say more. If Blackwood still had connections in law enforcement, if his reach extended beyond Oak Ridge, they weren't safe yet. And that suspicion turned to certainty at 3:07 a.m. The kitchen window shattered. Glass exploded inward. Hunter's ears shot up, his body tensed. James's eyes flew open. He didn't speak, didn't panic. He scooped Amber into his arms and rolled to the floor behind the couch, just like he'd practiced with her every night since the kidnapping. She stirred but didn't cry, just like he'd taught her. "Stay down," he whispered. Footsteps creaked on the porch. Hunter growled, low and deep, a sound so ancient it shook the bones. No phone signal, no power. And then, the front door opened. Standing in the moonlight was Thomas Blackwood, alive, free, and holding a gun. "Hello, James," he said, calm as ever. "You got something that belongs to me." James stepped forward, slowly, blocking the view of the couch. "You're supposed to be in custody." Blackwood smiled. "Money buys many things. Time, silence, freedom." Behind him, a pale figure stepped through the doorway. Dr. Sarah Andrews, trembling, still clutching her bloodied vet bag. James didn't move. "You're not taking her," he said. Blackwood raised the gun slightly. "Oh, I don't want the girl," he said. "I want what your wife left behind. The backups, the real ones. She was too smart to trust only digital files." "You're too late," James said. "The FBI has them." "Not all of them," Blackwood snapped. "She hid physical records, and I think you know where." "You're wrong." Blackwood's eyes shifted, just enough to see a small movement behind the couch. Amber. His grin returned. "You should have kept her hidden." He raised the gun. That's when Hunter moved. He leapt from behind the couch, pure fury wrapped in fur. The gun fired. The sound was deafening. Hunter hit Blackwood mid-chest, sending him crashing into the wall. The weapon clattered across the floor. Andrews screamed, dropping to her knees as blood bloomed across her abdomen. James dove for the gun, but Blackwood grabbed it first. They fought, fists, elbows, years of rage behind every strike. Hunter, blood pouring from a reopened wound, lunged again. He clamped onto Blackwood's wrist just as the trigger pulled. The bullet missed James by inches. Amber screamed. Hunter collapsed. James roared. He slammed Blackwood to the ground, punch after punch, until Blackwood went limp. The house fell silent again. But it wasn't peaceful. It was terrifying. Amber crawled to Hunter's side, sobbing. "Please wake up," she begged, stroking his fur. "Please." James dropped to his knees. "He's breathing," he whispered, but barely. Outside, sirens approached. Too far, too late. Hunter's breath was faint. His eyes fluttered, blood soaked the floor. "You did good, boy," James choked. "You saved us. Again." Hunter's tail thumped once, then went still. Amber screamed. "No, don't go." She clung to him, sobbing. The front door burst open. FBI agents swarmed the house. Paramedics rushed in. Blackwood was dragged away in cuffs, barely conscious. Andrews was stabilized on the kitchen floor. Reynolds knelt beside Hunter, assessing the scene. She grabbed her radio. "Medevac, Animal Trauma Richmond, Priority 1. A medic shook her head. "He's not stable enough to move." Amber stood up slowly. "Yes, he is," she said, voice clear. Everyone froze. "My mom trained him for this. He's playing dead. He's waiting for it to be safe again." Reynolds crouched. "What did you say?" "He's not dying," Amber whispered. "He's hiding." James locked eyes with Reynolds. "She's right." An hour later, the helicopter landed. Hunter was rushed aboard, IVs in both legs, vitals crashing. Amber never let go of his paw. "You promised Mom you'd protect us," she whispered. "You kept your promise. Now let me keep mine. I'm getting you home." At the Richmond Veterinary Trauma Center, a surgical team was waiting. Prepped, alert. "He's critical," the lead surgeon said. "Multiple injuries, shock, blood loss." "Can he make it?" James asked. The doctor looked at him. "If he wasn't the dog he is, I'd say no." Hours passed. Silence ruled the waiting room. Until finally, the doctor emerged. "He's alive. Surgery was successful, but the next 24 hours are going to be tough." Amber and James were allowed to see him. Hunter lay in a recovery kennel, oxygen tubes, bandages, monitors. But his eyes opened when Amber stepped in. "Hi, buddy," she whispered, kneeling beside him. "We're safe now." He gave a soft whine. She rested her head gently on his chest. "I told you, you're not done yet." Days passed. Hunter improved. The files Naomi left led to dozens of arrests nationwide. Hidden facilities were raided, children rescued, homes reunited. Sarah Mitchell became a national name, hailed as a hero. But to Amber and James, she was more than that. She was the one who believed in a dog when no one else did. The woman who had left behind a map, and the hope to follow it. On the 1-year anniversary, Oak Ridge held a retirement ceremony for Hunter. Neighbors, reporters, children with signs. "Thank you, Hunter." Amber stood proudly beside him in her best dress, holding the leash. James adjusted his tie at the podium, then cleared his throat. "A year ago, I was drowning, lost my wife, lost myself, and then a dog refused to give up, and a little girl believed in both of us." He knelt beside Hunter and clipped a new tag onto his collar. "Always faithful." forever family. The crowd applauded. Hunter leaned against James's chest and sighed. That night, after the celebration ended, James sat alone by the pond. Hunter lay beside him. James pulled a letter from his pocket, one he'd written that morning. "Sarah, you told me once that grief would either harden you or crack you open. I let it harden me, but you gave me a road back. Through her, through him. We're okay now. I promise I'll raise her right. I'll tell her the truth, even the hard parts, and I'll never forget that you lit the way. James." He folded the letter and dropped it into the water, watched it sink. Back home, Amber curled up on the couch with Hunter. Her journal sat in her lap. James sat beside them, smiling. "What are you writing now?" She turned the page. "My story," she said, "so kids like me know they're not alone." He looked over her shoulder. The first line read, "My name is Amber Walker. I was taken, but I was never lost. Because someone always believed in me. Because a dog named Hunter never stopped searching. And because my mom left behind a map. This is our story. Sometimes it takes a child, a dog, and a mother's plan to defeat the darkness. If this story moved you, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe for more. What would you do if your dog tried to lead you somewhere?